Time for some lobster rolls on Newberry Street with my friends Ted and Jane Rizzoli. Boston Red Sox time on the Moss Spring Training Tours. Vegas Mac, my co-pilot as always, and one of the more interesting teams to jump into in the offseason, in the spring. Lots of stuff going on as always in Beantown, and the official mayor of Beantown, Vegas Mac. How are you, buddy?
Hey, doing well. Can't wait. You know, this is going to be a good one for me.
Yeah, we're gonna have to put the safety restraints on you here. But exciting times in Boston, coming off of the 81-81 2024, one postseason appearance since 2018, and the Red Sox reloaded, and they got to reload without giving up the farm. But I cannot go any further here until you lead us off with your first thoughts on the Boston Red Sox.
I had a lot of things, but I'm just keeping it simple because I'm going to have a lot to say. So I'm just going to say it's Tessie time.
Let's right off the top here. It's been kind of a contentious thing for Red Sox fans and the direction of ownership and spending money, not spending money. What are they going to do? There is so many layers to this Red Sox team and the American League East as a whole this year. For my money, and I've said this a couple of times across our social channels, at Mike Arana Show, everywhere but Snapchat, because we're not 12 and Snapchat sucks. I really do think the Red Sox had the best offseason out of anybody in all of Major League Baseball. I love the depth. But with depth and veteran players, there comes need for more medical attention, and we're seeing some of that already. Right off the top, man. I mean, this team is loaded, and they're built on paper to compete.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, the acquisitions that they made in the offseason definitely upgraded needs that they had. And needs that they've had for the last couple of years. But again, like you said, there's still a lot of question marks. Do I think Walker Buehler can be an amazing addition? I absolutely do. But, you know, this is still going to be his first full year after his surgery. So, you know, there's still a little bit of caution there. But they do have some depth. And like you said, we'll talk about this. Depth in the pitching staff, depth in the bullpen, depth with their players. And so are they going to be able to handle the grind of the season? Yeah, they are. And I would like to think that if they're in position, that the front office will do what they need to do to get them over the top.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the guys that they brought in, the most impressive thing with the Red Sox and what they were able to do and how they were able to construct this roster in a very competitive American League East is Marcelo Mayer, Roman Anthony, Christian Campbell. They're all still part of the Red Sox organization. And that was something that not a lot of people thought was possible in retooling this team and building this team to go on a run, not only just in the American League East, but in the American League and possibly win a World Series. And to keep those three guys intact, and we're going to see a couple, maybe all three, maybe only one. We're going to see them, but they're still there. And that's the thing. So they were able to, hey, let's put a team on paper we think could give us a parade without giving up the prospects, which was the more fascinating thing about how they built this version of the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, and let's not forget the Red Sox weren't too far away last year. I mean, they had some definite holes in the pitching staff, holes in their gloves. That's for sure. That they needed to correct. But I mean, for the first half of the year, Netflix got themselves a pretty good story. Let's just put it that way. I mean, for the first half of the year, the Red Sox were in the race. They were in the in competition. Too young, too many injuries in the second half. But I mean, they were there.
Yeah, and you brought up the depth, and I think that's a key here, and it's going to get tested right away. As always, we'll start with the arms race, and we're seeing it already. Bayo, we're looking at kind of a mid-April thing. Giolito's got the hammy already. Cutter Crawford's still kind of dealing with the knee injury, but last year's Red Sox team wouldn't have been able to handle this. This year's Red Sox team, and I think one of the biggest keys when I look at this team is Garrett Whitlock. And he's not the big flashy name, but I think he's going to play a very pivotal role in the makeup of this team as we go forward and we get into the depths of the season. I think that's, to me, that's one of the biggest keys that stands out about the entire pitching staff right off the top.
Yeah, I mean, Whitlock's that guy. He's got amazing stuff. The Red Sox, and they couldn't decide what to do with him. He started off in the bullpen, then they wanted him to be a starter, then he was back in the bullpen, and he was a starter. Shades of Jonathan Papelbon there for a little bit. They had to decide what to do. I love the fact that he's in the bullpen. I like it. I like he's in the bullpen for a couple of reasons. I mean, if you needed him to give you a start, I hate to use the word, but he could be an opener. He could give you the 3, 4, 5 innings. He can be that long guy. He could be a closer if you needed him to be. They're not going to, I don't think they're going to need to go that route. But I mean, we talk about these teams that have starters and don't have a bullpen. The Red Sox have starters, but he's a great bridge to get to the end of the bullpen, which a lot of teams don't have.
Yeah, and the bullpen specifically on this team, I mean, we've joked about it a bunch of times as we've gone through, and TJ's favorite thing, if you got 2 quarterbacks, you don't have a quarterback. Well, the Red Sox have essentially 3 closers on this team with Chapman. And I think a lot of people, just casual fans that don't dive into the offseason, because, I mean, let's be honest, it's really, really hard to track any sports offseason right now, as much as it's thrown in all of our faces. But, especially with baseball, because it happens during, the crunch time of football season, I think a lot of people forgot Liam Hendriks was even there because he was dealing with the injuries. But you've got Slayton, you've got Chapman, you've got Hendricks. It's going to be really, really tough if you're trailing late in the game to get any runs off of this Red Sox bullpen, especially the backside.
Well, and a couple of other sneaky things. I mean, they signed Adam Ottavino to a minor league contract.
Love that.
Love him. I mean, he's back in Boston. Josh Winkowski, another starter that they're going to move to the bullpen, who I love. Brennan Barandino, lefty. He's a tough lefty. But there's one other guy, and he's not ready yet. You know where I'm going, right? Mm-hmm. Michael Fulmer.
Yep.
I mean, again, another reclamation project. But listen, I mean, he doesn't need to be ready right away. I mean, if that's one of your acquisitions at the deadline, and he can pitch anywhere near where he was before, I'll take that. I mean, that might be a good spot for the Red Sox. So, and there's another guy. I mean, I've been on the Red Sox a lot about, it seems like they've gone after everybody the last 2 years who's had Tommy John surgery. But there's another guy who's having an amazing spring, and he's not slated right now for even anywhere in the starting rotation or in the bullpen. But that's Sean Newcomb. Sean Newcomb's pitched 9 2/3 innings, 10 strikeouts, 3 walks, 5 hits. Again, another reclamation project who's in the past done well. So, I guess it's one of those things. If you take enough of those projects, one of them's bound to hit, right?
Yeah. Well, and you have those, and then you've also got some very promising, one of my favorite young pitchers to watch, because this guy just throws freaking gas. Luis Guerrero. I mean,
Yes.
that dude has got a freaking rocket launcher attached to his arm. And he's a guy that you don't have to really force him along because of the depth. So a lot of what I've seen and I've heard already in the spring, obviously the attention to the Bregman signing, Bregman endeavors, however that thing, works itself out, and we're going to get to that side of it. But like everybody's like, oh, this pitching staff's iffy. Well, I mean, we've talked about a lot of teams at this point in these spring training tours. There's a lot of teams that have iffy pitching staffs. That sounds like something you should see a doctor for. It. I almost said itchy. Yeah, I'm not going to go down. I'm not opening that can of worms. No. They've got so much depth that there's a lot of things that Alex Cora and Andrew Bailey can do with this group. And it's really, really exciting. I mean, I'm excited. I'm not a Red Sox fan, and I'm excited to watch the Red Sox play this year.
So I'm going to throw this nugget out there. Okay.
I'm ready.
Yeah. Giolito, I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen him pitch for the Red Sox. He was hurt last year. He's hurt now. I know what Bayo may be able to do. All right. And I know what Crawford can do. But I'm going to tell you right now, the Red Sox are going to start with Crochet, Tanner. Walker Buehler is the wild card of all wild cards. That could be it. But Preister, Fitz, and Criswell, I'm telling you right now, those three young guys are pretty darn good. The Red Sox are going to shock some people with these three young arms. They've had pretty good success in the minor leagues. Most of them got some appearances last year at the big league level. I'll tell you what, they may be better with these three than with Bayo and with Giolito.
I'm proud of myself right now, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, you just mentioned my second favorite name outside of Miles Mastrobuoni in all of baseball, in Richard Fitz. I'm just going to leave it because I'm going to be the mature, sensible one here. But two things when I look at the starters that are kind of key here. Cutter Crawford and Tanner Houck in the second half looked like batting practice pitchers at the home run derby. That's something, and we know Fenway, some people even term it the Coors Field of the East, if you will. The difference is the team that plays in Fenway actually tries to win and put a team on the field, as opposed to the team we talked about yesterday in Colorado. I think Houck and Crawford, those home run numbers got to come down, because that, we talk about how you mentioned it a couple of minutes ago, how close they were to a playoff spot. You got to keep the ball in the yard. I knew it was going to come out one time. You got to keep the ball in the yard, and both of them really struggled with that down the stretch. So that's one thing where we could see a 1, 2, 3 win improvement from the Red Sox. Again, it's not just the long ball, as we talk about and we know, but those two guys, I think, really, really struggled in that aspect. So getting Crochet in there, and the Walker Buehler thing. Okay, Walker Buehler, I'm just going to go ahead and say this now. Another guy on the preseason All Mike's Man Crushed MLB team. Walker Buehler was not signed for the regular season. Walker Buehler is a completely different animal when it comes to the postseason. Just ask the Yankees. Walker Buehler was signed, I believe, for we can get this team there. And it's not that he can't put up numbers during the season and all that. But we know Walker Buehler is there for an October run. And Crochet and Buehler, and then again, we can go through all the rest of these guys. This pitching staff is going to be one of those teams you do not want to see, especially in a short series in October.
And here's the thing, and we've talked about this with a couple of teams. I truly do believe, because I think they tried it numerous times in the offseason. I think there's enough talent in the Red Sox farm system that one thing the Red Sox do understand is that parades are so much better than prospects. And whether it is a Casas or, a Myers or even an Anthony, I think the Red Sox will go and get another starter if they think that's going to make the difference. I mean, and there's a couple I've got circled. There's one down in Miami that would just be amazing to have on that roster. But there's also a couple, again, we have to look and see what is Seattle going to do? What is San Diego going to do? There's good arms there. But the Red Sox have been, in touch with all of those different teams in the offseason. I think for a certain reason. It may not have even been for a trade then, but they lay the groundwork for a trade later.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the most exciting thing about what they've put together here. And I mean, hell, you don't see it often interdivision, but we've mentioned them and they're coming up tomorrow in our previews. TJ will have that team to the Due White North, Toronto. Toronto's a big player in a lot of teams' fates. I mean, right now, the best job in all of sports has got to be the agent for Sandy Alcantara. I mean, that guy's got to be the top of everybody's freaking radar because,
Right.
Miami's another one of those teams with ownership that doesn't give a damn. Why are you even here? That's the guy I think everybody's kind of circling. Toronto. You mentioned Seattle. I mean, there's quite a few teams that a lot of baseball is going to be watching very, very closely at the beginning of the year. And the Red Sox have depth in current major league players. They have depth, as you just mentioned, in their farm system. And I'm, again, just to slide back to the bullpen for a second here, you can take your time with Lucas Giolito. In the Garrett Whitlock piece, again, like I said, I think he's a key. But the backside of that bullpen, and they have everything. They have everything you could ask for. If this team is this close to overtaking the Yankees or the Orioles or whatever. And I think that's the even more fascinating thing about the NL East is you've got the situation with Garrett Cole. We're going to talk about the Yankees and the Mets next Wednesday. You've got Baltimore, who we've talked about, that really doesn't have an ace, and they're really hoping that Grayson Rodriguez becomes an ace. Boston, on paper, is set up better than those two teams I just mentioned from top to bottom when it comes to pitching. And I'm talking top to bottom of the bullpen. And I think that's a huge ace in the back pocket for Craig Breslow and the rest of the brass in Boston.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, to start off, I mean, we haven't mentioned it a lot, but I mean, they've got an ace, and they haven't had an ace in a while. I mean, Chris Sale was the ace, but he was hurt for a few seasons before that. I mean, Crochet is that. He's your horse. You mentioned Chandler Hawk the second half of the year. He struggled, but again, he was extended more than, I mean, he was in a spot that he hadn't been in his career. So, I mean, he's going to learn from that. Again, your baby this spring has been the 6-man rotation. If there's one team that's really looking, and they've come out and said it, Breslow said it, that we could use a 6-man rotation, it's the Boston Red Sox. You could actually see it. I think it would definitely help this team, especially at the beginning of the year. I think they have like 23 out of the first 25 days of the season. I think they have games, so they're going to need arms.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because the early part of the schedule for the Red Sox it is kind of interesting to see how everything lays itself out, if you will. We get to the beginning of their schedule. They get the Rangers, then the Orioles, as my computer scheduler doesn't keep up with me. Then they got the Cardinals, Blue Jays, White Sox, and Rays, and then the White Sox again before they get into the Mariners, the Guardians, and then back to the Blue Jays. That takes us basically all the way through April. So they're in an advantageous position. They're also in an advantageous position to slow play Giolito and slow play Bayo and try and get Cutter Crawford back healthy, which is a massive key for them. So they've got the ability at the beginning of the year to just kind of hang loose, get their footing, get everybody set. Rafa Devers is going to play his first spring training game allegedly tomorrow. We'll get into that. Follow us at Mike Arena Show on all of our social channels. Plenty of stuff coming up as we finish these spring training tours. Lots of crazy stuff going on in sports right now. It is an awesome time. Here's an interesting thing that I noticed about the Red Sox last year. And, being a Red Sox fan and being, watching this team every single day, they were better on the road than they were at home last year, which is interesting in a couple of numbers. 19 more home runs on the road than they hit at home last year, which is not typically common. Doesn't happen usually with the Sox because it is such a good hitter's park. That's going to be something interesting to see if this lineup depth-wise can do that this year.
But there's a lot to that. Listen, Fenway Park is a hitter's park. It's not a home run hitter's park. And then everyone says, well, how can you say that? 319 down the line. It's not. The Fenway Park is a doubles hitting machine. See, every year the Red Sox lead the league in doubles. Right field is the hardest right field in baseball to play. But it's also one of the hardest, even though it's like 310 down the line, it juts out to who knows what out in right center. So it's not a home run hitter's park. It's not a friendly home run hitter's park. It's a hitter's park. And the weather plays a lot. The last couple of years, let's be honest, the weather's been crappy. Even in the summer, they've had crappy weather. And that has had a lot to do with it. The winters have been long. It was cold there to start. The summers haven't been great. And so the weather plays a huge role in that. But it's a hitter's park, not so much a home run hitter's park. And I know that I'll bring out my geek side. I play Stratomatic baseball all the time. It's not one of the better home run hitting parks. It's just not. So I think why their numbers are better on the road.
We're going to have you bust that out on a show one day for our youngsters that have no idea what the hell that is.
Greatest baseball game ever created.
As you're looking for it right now. We're not going to project the batting order here because there's a lot of, this is where I think it gets really interesting for the Red Sox. Because they have great depth and you can maneuver a lot of stuff here. But Duran, Devers, Bregman, Casas, Story, Yoshida, Refsnyder, Connor Wong, Rafaela, Wilyer Abreu. I can keep going. There is immense depth to this lineup as well. And I like what Alex Cora gets to do with this because I think you can put a lot of combinations together here. I know you're really sad that we won't see Worcester Bobby this year. It's taken you a while to get over that. But Wilyer Abreu and what he brings to the table. And it's not just, the potential and everything that he has from the bat. It's, we were just talking about the pitching staff, 17 defensive runs saved last year. And I think a lot of people forget how good of a defender he is. He's another big wild card. What's the part in this Red Sox lineup that I don't want to say has you concerned, but where you're needing to see extra production out of compared to last year?
I don't really, I'll be honest with you. It's hard. I look at this and I go, there's no holes here. Cedar Rafaela needs to cut down his strikeout rate. That's what I think. I mean, he's an electric young player. I will tell you this. I don't think he's going to this year, but I think before his career is over, I think he could be an MVP type player. I really do. I mean, he's that good. Obviously, we didn't see a lot of Casas last year because he was hurt as well. He has 40 home run potential. I think if there's a hole, I think that's the hole right there. I think it's Casas. I need to see Triston Casas play a full year, and I want to know what I'm going to get out of Triston Casas. That for me is the big thing.
Only the 63 games last year because he was dealing with that cartilage, the rib issue last year. That dude's a big sumbitch too, by the way. When I went to T-Mobile Park, we're talking about the Mariners next week, but they were playing the Red Sox, and I was down low as I was touring the stadium, and it was the first time I had got to see him up close. And he is a big freaking dude, big.
He's a big guy. He's kind of really quirky too, but he's I'm surprised he's honestly not on your man crush because he is a funny guy. You get a microphone in front of that guy and he,
that was the best part of him being out last year, watching the Red Sox games when they had the headset on him. And he's not on my Mike's man crush list because I don't need a DH and I don't need a first baseman because Mike's man crush was founded on one Bryce Harper. So, I mean, I love watching him play. But, yeah, I think you're right there. That is a massive key because, again, only the 63 games. This year, they have options to if he deals – hopefully doesn't. But if he does have to deal with some injury issues this year, they have a lot of options there. They have some maneuverability, and you know, the year from Jaron Duran last year, the All-Star MVP. I mean, just and it wasn't an easy road for Duran. I mean, when he came out, it was rough. Defensively, he looked like Jose Altuve does right now in left field. I mean, he struggled, but an absolute breakout year from him, and I'm really interested to see what he does. I think it's also a really key year for Trevor Story, another guy who's dealt with a crap ton of injuries and high expectations for him. I think this year, with the way they're made up, and obviously the Bregman edition goes a long way to this, you can kind of hide him this year a little bit more than you could in past years. He's not expected to be the guy. Him and O'Neill were, you know, I think that's another guy that I'm really looking to see how he does, because I think he's one of those guys that could be on the short way out if he doesn't perform. Who knows? A lot of that's going to be determined on how they start this year. What's the one guy you think is the catalyst for the lineup?
I think Duran. I mean, he has to have another big year. I think it's kind of funny. I think it's going to be Alex Bregman. I think Alex Bregman is going to bring a lot to this team. Number one, a right-handed bat. This team is a little kind of heavy with left-handed bats. They haven't had that type of right-handed hitter in quite some time. Alex Bregman is that professional hitter. He sees a lot of pitches. He kills the Red Sox when he played at Fenway. I mean, you know, a hitter like that's going to love having that wall up there. You know, you're going to get X number of hits just on pop-ups that are going to become singles and doubles. I think he's the key in that lineup, because they haven't had really somebody around Devers to kind of give him that protection. And I think that top three, you go Duran, Devers, and Bregman. You know, if Duran has half the year that he had, you're going to have to pitch to Devers because you got Bregman there. And like I said, that lineup kind of trickles down. Casas' Story after that. I think Bregman, he's notorious for slow starts. Be interested to see what happens. But I just think he is the key to that Red Sox lineup.
Yeah, especially the top of their lineup: Duran, Devers, Bregman. More than likely, that's what it's going to be 1 through 3. And I mean, right there, you got guys that are going to get on base. Duran, obviously, the wheels. We know how that comes. And then you've got two guys that are two of the better guys in all of baseball and hitting doubles right behind him. And a lot of the time, you're going to get, when Duran's on base, more times than not, one of those two guys, all they got to do is hit one of the doubles like they do, like it's no big deal. And Duran's going to be able to score on a lot of those.
You know, and one guy you mentioned, Trevor Story, and you know, he's been hurt. Like, but boy, oh boy, I mean, you have to remember, Trevor Story is a player that he's done it. He can carry a team for a week or two. When he gets on those tears, he is absolutely amazing. And he was off to a really good start, kind of a freak injury in the field. The one thing that's hurt the Red Sox the last couple of years, and I kind of joked about it at the beginning, is the fact that they could not field. I mean, they were historically bad. Mm-hmm. Listen, Mike, Alex Bregman is playing third base. He's playing third base. They signed him to play third base. They did, honestly. You don't take a Gold Glove player and move him to another position. They're going to put him at third. Alex Cora is amazing. He is the smooth operator. He's going to get guys to do things that he wants to do. He does. I mean, that's what Alex Cora is. And listen, I'm not
laughing because of that. I'm laughing because I'm trying not to horribly try and sing it in the background here. So
thanks, Dade. Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Right. But there's another guy, and I've seen he's had a pretty big influence on Rafael Devers' career. And this is a gentleman that made a Hall of Fame career being a DH. And I'm talking about the big guy, Big Papi. Mm-hmm. Big Papi's had some conversations with Devers. And I'm sure those conversations were like, you know, you win in Boston. you're forever forgiven of anything that you ever need to do. And listen, do what's best for the team. You know, David Ortiz wasn't a great first baseman, wasn't a bad first baseman, wasn't a Gold Glover. But listen, let's be honest. Alex Bregman is a better third baseman than Devers. Devers wants to play a field, let him play first base, but he can DH. He can go and play third. We're not saying you can't play third. Just say we're going to give Here you go. Trivia question. How many innings has Alex Bregman played at second base in spring training?
I'm closing my eyes and I can see nothing. Nothing.
Yes.
None of them.
He hasn't. There's a reason why. He's going to play third. You have options for second base. There's a whole bunch of options for second base. They haven't had a second baseman in a couple years. There's 3 or 4 guys that can fill that spot. They're going to be fine there. You're better off Devers at first or at DH. That's in a little bit of third. That's going to be the way it is. It's going to save Bregman too. Bregman can, if he needs to play a little bit of second, he probably could. He can DH. It's in the long run, it saves their legs. I think that's the way that it's going to go. And like I said, with that, there's still a couple of big question marks. I mean, the one guy they traded for a couple years ago was Vaughn Grissom, and he's still young, but that spot's with injuries. He hasn't been able to take it. Hasn't had a great spring. That's a guy that I think maybe another change of scenery may help. That's how deep the Red Sox are. He's kind of not even on their radar. And then Trace Thompson, do you see his spring? 6 home runs. He's got 6 home runs. Again, Red Sox are as deep as the Dodgers. I'm going to say it. They're as deep as the Dodgers.
No, I don't think anybody would disagree with that. And I mean, here's the other interesting thing here. 2 guys that I think are very valuable to other teams. And you talked about if the Red Sox feel the need to go out and get one more quality arm. Tristan Casas, Trevor Story. Why would I say Trevor Story? Well, we all know Marcelo Mayer. What's his position?
Shortstop.
And you just mentioned Rafa and Big Papi moving him to first. Boom, boom. You've already got the next 2 guys. You've got Devers at first, Mayer if he's ready.
Well, and
I see those 2 guys. If Casas can stay healthy and he can produce, I see him of great value to a team for the future that has an arm, Sandy Alcantara, somebody like that they can go out and grab. So I think that's the greatest thing if you're a Red Sox fan. Why I would be excited as a Red Sox fan, because I know the next guys up are already there, and I know what could get me that arm that puts me over the top.
Well, and then here I'll even go one more. Cedar Rafaela is a shortstop by trade. Mm-hmm. That's his position. If you say trade Story, you move Rafaela to shortstop. Oh, I'm sorry. Hello, Mr. Roman Anthony.
Yep.
How about come play some outfield for us? How about that? You're only taking the number 1 prospect in baseball and bringing him up.
Yeah, and that's why I think this Red Sox team is lethal. They're dangerous. So as we continue on here in the Moss Spring Training Tours, we're about the halfway point. We're about the all-star break, if you will, of our spring training tours. Reset the schedule real quick here for you. We're going to talk about some more Sox. These are not good Sox. Short form tomorrow, we've got the Blue Jays and the White Sox. Those will come up on Saturday on all of our social channels. Monday, we're back into these with the San Francisco Giants, Cardinals, and Royals. After that, again, follow us everywhere at Mike Arana Show. It's game time back. Are you ready? World Series odds for the Red Sox plus 2,200, AL pennant plus 1,000. To win the AL East, they are a plus 425. And the over-under win total for the Sox is 86.5. $100 of my money. I know this is probably the toughest one for you. I'm telling you to think with my wallet, not with your heart. And I don't know if that makes it any better, actually. It's not your money. So. Which one's the safe bet there for you on this, as they are currently constructed? This Boston Red Sox team?
Man, yeah, I know. I want to jump in the big pool, don't I?
You won't.
I know I won't. They're I don't think they're ready. I think they're a year or so away. I'll take the over 86.5.
Over 86.5. I like it. And I think that I honestly think with the setup of this division, you're gonna have to probably get to, on the low end, 92, 93, somewhere in there. I mean, this is going to be a really interesting division to follow. There's a lot of storylines in this entire division.
Here's, the fan in me says this. The fan, if Walker Buehler is healthy, if Bayo and Giolito can return to some sort of form, and that bullpen kind of stays healthy, what they can do offensively, I mean, this is not just a home run hitting team. I mean, Duran, David Hamilton, Romy Gonzalez, Sogard, Rafaela. I mean, this team, we saw how many they can steal bases. They run the bases hard. I mean, this is a really, really good lineup. They've got guys that they can move. They've got young guys that come up. This is a Red Sox team that's set up not just for this year, but for the next 2 or 3 or 4 years, really, to be successful. I just think there's still a few question marks with their pitching staff that I'm worried about. I'm worried about it already. And so if they went out and got another arm, I would feel better. I think they'll make the playoffs. I think they'll make a good run. I think they're going to come up just a little short. But it wouldn't surprise me if they made it to the World Series. I wouldn't be shocked. I'd be pretty happy, but I wouldn't be shocked.
I'm actually surprised you said that. I expected you to be more guarded there in knowing how you are.
But if you think about it, I mean, excuse me, if you look at the East, I love what the Yankees have done so far this year, but losing now Cole, Stanton's probably out, Luis Gil's out. I mean, that's a huge hit. I don't think the Orioles have the pitching. Toronto's the team that scares me the most. I really do. I love the Blue Jays. I really like. I mean, I think it's going to be, honestly, I think Blue Jays, Red Sox. I think it's going to be the top 2 in the East. I really do. And then as we go, I mean, the Rangers in a lot of ways are like the Red Sox. They're 1 or 2 injuries away from not being good. And I don't think the Rangers have the depth that the Red Sox have.
No.
And then the Central, you never know. I mean, the Tigers could be. We don't know. I mean, there's still some holes there. So, this American League East, I think, not East, the American League, I think, is wide open. I think there's a handful of teams that you could say, I think, could win the pennant, and I think everybody would agree.
All right, so I'm going to task you, and this is the first time I'm going to drop.
Not Taze, right? You didn't say Taze.
Well, if you lose a bunch of my $100 that I've given you for all these bets, yeah, I might have to go to those depths. But this is how you can save yourself. So we talked about the all Mike's Man Crush spring training MLB team. As I looked at the Red Sox schedule here, I want to do this, but I'm going to need to implore our legions and legions of followers here. And I'm going to start with this one. I've been saving this for this exact reason.
All right.
I need you to make some phone calls. I know you can't call Worcester Bobby anymore, so you're going to have to go to alternate means here. On the 7th of April, and this I want this display behind me. It is Jarren Duran All-Star Game MVP bobblehead night. I want to assemble the All Mike's Man Crush spring training team of MLB bobbleheads. It's the first time I've said it publicly here, so I need you to make some phone calls and make that happen for me, which means you're going to have to ask for 2 because I know you want one for yourself, but that's fine. Maybe. If you only get one, it comes to me. After all, I mean, at this point in the spring training tour, we're about $2,200 in, and hopefully good bets for you in my Monopoly money here. So again, follow us at Mike Aranda Show on all of our social channels. Just a quick reset: White Sox and Blue Jays in short form tomorrow. Nothing on Sunday because Sunday, about an hour after the brackets come out. It's our Moss Madness NCAA tournament preview show. We're going to give you our thoughts on that. Then we're going to get back into these on Monday with the San Francisco Giants, the Royals, and the Cardinals on Tuesday, the Mets and the Yankees on Thursday. And obviously, we've got some pre-canned for you for March Madness days. So a lot of stuff going on in the sports world. A big announcement that we have later. And don't forget, all three of us on our season first pitch preview show will give you our thoughts, our World Series predictions, and the nines. Do you have any final thoughts before you bash your camera with the B45 there that you got in your hand?
There you go. I think the Boston Red Sox are going to have themselves a much better 2025 than they've had the last couple of years. I'm pretty confident in saying that this team is going to be a lot better than the last couple of seasons.
Which means on April 3rd, when they play the Orioles in a day game in Baltimore, I'm going to get a text from you. I'm so done with this Red Sox team. That
happens on opening day. It's I'm already frustrated.
Very good series on opening day. Rangers and Red Sox in Texas. We're two teams that I know that we're all kind of really high on. That's going to be a fun one. I can't wait to watch it on national TV.
Real quick, scroll down there because my plan is this. I believe there's a time in September. Give me a date. What's the date? Is it September?
September. No, it's not September.
August?
I don't know. I haven't looked at any of their stuff. I don't want to look at any of their stuff.
Well,
I know where you're going. Just give me a second. I'll find it here. Or maybe I won't. I don't know. It is in June. June 20th, 21st, and 22nd.
No. Wait a minute. We're going to figure this out. Hold on a second. That's not you meant the Angels, right?
No. It's where they go before they play the Angels. Some team we're talking about on Monday.
On Monday?
If not, I'm completely lost on where you were going there.
I was. My goal was I believe the Boston Red Sox in September travel to the Valley.
Oh, that's right. They are coming out
this
way.
Yeah, and
it is September 5th, 6th, and 7th. You know what that is? Opening weekend of the NFL season as well.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. You know where I'm going to be. I'm going to be at the Bob.
Yeah, you got 6:40, 5 o'clock, and 1 o'clock for those three games when they come out here. And then they head from here to lovely West Sacramento to take on the artist formerly known as the Oakland Athletics. So for everybody behind the scenes, for TJ, for Vegas Mac, I am Mike. We will talk to you on Monday. Follow us at Mike Arana Show. Have a good weekend, everybody. Enjoy some college hoops. The madness is here, and we are out.